Good evening. My name is Jason Osborne. I'm the Athletic Director of Miamisburg City Schools. On behalf of the Miamisburg Athletic Department and the Hall of Fame Committee, welcome to tonight's 2022 Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Finally, right? Finally. It is a great honor to be here with some of the finest and most productive athletes in Miamisburg City Schools history. I appreciate you giving up your evening to be here with us. Tonight we will be adding 4 new members to the Hall of Fame. Onslinger, Shawn Fayette, Melvin Johnson, Kermit Simmons. We will also be adding our 4th team ever into the Hall, the 1969 baseball team. And now for some introductions. I'd like to introduce the Hall of Fame Committee. If you guys would please stand when I call your name and remain standing until I get to the last one. Committee members here with us tonight: Rex Gardecki, Brad Myers, Ron Russo, Allison Janes, Jason Shade, Scott Masters, and Michael Black. Thank you guys for all you do. Rex is going to come up here. Where you at, Rex? Rex has got 2 minutes. We're going to put him on the clock. He's going to talk about the Miamisburg Schools Education Foundation.
Better swallow that food there.
It's nice to come tonight after a couple years of the COVID situation. Sort of throw out my athletic hat tonight and talk a little bit, and I won't talk long about the Miamisburg Education Foundation. I've been along and been very nice to be in the committee. I see Mayor Church here and other people in this organization. Where basically our organization is really helping students in Miamisburg high schools. We've granted over thousands of dollars of scholarships in the last 25 years. We're a private situation. We've got over $2 million in our foundation at this point, and we're trying to continually grow. So if you're interested in helping some students, and there's probably students here that have had this scholarship, feel free to call Brenda Hibbert at the high school or Tracy Moore. It's one of the greatest things that we've done here at Miamisburg. Thank you.
Thank you, Rex. If you guys are interested in learning more about the nomination process with the Hall of Fame, that can be found on miamisburgathletics.com. Bylaws, nomination process, and then past year's photographs and all the write-ups that we've done in the past. We'd also like to introduce those with us tonight from Miamisburg City Schools. Once again, if you'd please stand until I get to the end of the list. We have Superintendent Dr. Laura Blessing, High School Principal Michael Black, High School Assistant Principal Zach Klein, Secretary to the Superintendent Brenda Hibbert, Assistant Athletic Director Jason Shade, Athletic Secretary Reva Pittman, and Board of Education members Ann Neese and Tim Lewis. Thank you guys for all you do. We have some head coaches with us. I think I've got them all. I've been trying to cross them off and update my list as we went through the beginning here. Head coaches in the building tonight. We have Johnny Wade, baseball. Stand up, guys, just like the others. Melvin Johnson, track and field. Allison James, girls basketball. John Good, gymnastics. Tim Freeze, boys basketball. Jeremy Wasaki, cross country. Lance Schneider, football. We also have our sports medicine team, Laura Stafford and Dave Cookson. Thank you guys for all you do. We have 26 sports here at Miamisburg High School, and I feel Mr. Shade and I feel like we've got the #1 team in the league. We're super proud of all the hard work that our coaches do and all the great things they do for our children. So thank you guys for all of your time and efforts. Viking Boosters, go ahead and stand up when I call your name. President Jennifer Kopic, Vice President Michelle Lieber, and Treasurer Michael Talby. If you guys enjoyed the food, the boosters always sponsor this event, so a big round of applause to the boosters. Thank you guys. We appreciate you guys. And these are the moms and dads that are putting in countless hours of volunteer hours, no pay, and they just are passionate about our district and passionate about our kids. So thank you guys for all you do. We really appreciate it. There's also a flyer on each table for the booster membership. If you're interested, you can take that. It also has the website. If you want to jump on, you can become a member from the website, or you can mail in the bottom half of that document if you're interested. We appreciate it. From the city, here tonight with us, we have Mayor Collins. If you'd please stand. We also have former Mayor Dick Church. Please stand. City Council, we have Jeff Nestor and Hall of Famer Tom Nicholas. Please stand. We appreciate all you guys' work with the city, and as a school district, obviously you guys know we have a phenomenal relationship with our city. So thank you guys for your partnership in raising our children. I'd like to congratulate the inductees and their families on their accomplishments. This is an outstanding class that has made our community and school proud in so many ways. These individuals and teams have left lasting impressions on people who watch them excel in competition. Their generosity and support of Miamisburg athletics has had a great impact on many young lives. And without further ado, at this time I would like to bring up our first inductee of the night along with his presenters, Ron Onslinger. Ron will be presented tonight by his three sons, Brian, Brent, and Bryce. Ron Onslinger, class of 1964, contributor, coach, basketball, tennis, and cross country.
Well, thank you to Jason and the committee. Dad created a challenge for us on this nomination. The application said to choose one of the following: athlete, coach, or contributor. Well, we ignored the choose one and chose all the above. So Dad's about as well-rounded as a Hall of Famer as you can find, not to mention one of the Vikings' biggest fans. For half a century, you have found him on the top row of Harmon and now Holland Field, rooting on the Vikings every Friday night in the fall, usually with Jim and Jan, who are sitting right there. So let's get started. First, Dad was an athlete. So he was the class of 1964. He was a guard on that 1963-64 NBL champion Viking basketball team. The Associated Press ranked that squad number 25 in the state. They finished with a 16-3 record and were 7-0 in conference play. They had the highest local ranking in school history at number 3. So a fun fact, that team bonded by playing basketball in our old 1800s barn that we still own. The hoop still hangs there across from the hayloft, where champions were made in that summer of '63. And Tom Nicholas was on that team, so he can confirm or deny that story, and Dad can correct it if it was wrong too. But in addition to basketball, he ran cross country and was named most valuable runner in 1963, and competed in tennis, and in 1964 was named a Gentleman Scholar Athlete. That sounds like a big award. So I'm going to let Brian talk about his coaching.
As a coach, he was the longest serving girls tennis coach in the program's history. Coached the girls tennis team from 1984 to 1998 when he retired after 30 years as a teacher at Miamisburg High School. He has the most wins by any coach in program history with 137 and the most matches coached at 251. His 88-89 team holds the record as the winningest team in program history, going 17-3. In 1986, he received the Mid-Miami League Coach of the Year honors. He also coached the boys tennis team from 84 to 86, and technically an assistant coach when Bryce played from 96 to 2000, just so he could coach him during the matches. And Bryce can confirm that story?
Yeah, I wrote that. I think that was a league rule or something, so we had to make him a coach. So I'm here to announce the contributor portion of Dad's resume. So he's been keeping score for the basketball team for the past 51 years, which is crazy because it sounds like he started when he was about 24. Add that up, I guess that's how old he is now. He's kept score for almost half of Miamisburg's basketball games in the history of the program that started in 1915. That's more than 1,000 varsity games at the main scorers table. I did some math. roughly 3,000 hours or 125 entire days keeping score. That's 24 hours for 125 days at the scores table. And quick story, in 2010, in a news article, Dayton Daily News, he said one of his greatest memories was watching Bob Cook set the single game scoring record, 51 points in 1973 at Franklin. And he says he always teased him because when he coached him in his first game of 7th grade, he did not score. So, without further ado, because he's got plenty to say, the new Hall of Famer, Ron Onslinger.
Jason said 5 minutes, I think I'm done. Thanks, everybody. I want to thank my sons for their kind words, and I'm thankful that their families are here, except Brian. He officiates Division I basketball, and he was in Central Michigan Tuesday and at Omaha, Nebraska yesterday, and he'll be at Ball State tomorrow, so I'm glad he was able to make it. And to the committee for thinking that I was worthy of this great honor, because nothing can be better than what we're receiving here. And to the other inductees, it's well deserved. You're all well deserved of this honor. And Jason, I don't think we could have a better athletic director than Jason. And his assistant, Jason Shea, they do a wonderful job. Yeah. And my wife for putting up with all the time I'm away from home. It's usually 3 or 4 nights a week. This past week, and I do the girls' scoreboard as well as the boys' scorebook. And this past week we had a girls' game Monday, boys Tuesday, girls Wednesday, girls Thursday, tonight's game, tomorrow morning a girls' game, tomorrow evening a boys' game. And the same thing next week. And I'm usually at all the freshmen and reserve games also, and that would be about 100 games just this 1 year that I'll be seeing. Now, multiply that by 50 years. And to Tom Nicholas, my classmate, who when he was head basketball coach, he got me into the scorekeeping, and that was a few years ago. And as a footnote there, Mike Snyder over here was our reserve coach, and I was freshman coach. And I don't think there's been many schools where 3 of us in the same class have been in those positions there at the school we even graduated from, to be those 3 coaches in that area. But I'm not here for any great achievements athletically or coaching-wise. Although I had a few, and they mentioned a couple of things. But I've just been around a long time. And it seems like I know most of you, or I recognize most of you out there. I've just been here a long time, let's say that. Matter of fact, 70 years ago, I think of that, 70 years ago, I started 1st grade down at Kinder. And except for the 4 years at dear old Otterbein, I've been doing something associated with the school every year since. 70 years. I gotta think about that again. Anyway, 25 years or so keeping score for the girls and 51 years for the boys' scorebook. It's been a labor of love, and I hope I can continue to do it for a while longer. It's a lot of coaches, a lot of players, a lot of memories, a lot of games, a lot of stories. But like I say, Jason said 5 minutes. I think we're over that. So the stories, no more stories. Actually, I do have one. I was doing reserve games a long time ago, and we had a 7 overtime at Northmont. I think the varsity started about 9 o'clock. So 7 overtimes. That sticks in my mind. And I think, I was destined to be a scorekeeper. This is my first scorebook. And it's right about ready to fall apart. It's pretty old, but I wasn't in high school yet. If I'd sit in front of the TV, I'd keep score. I got Dayton games in here. I've got Ohio State playing Cincinnati in the '61 championship game. I've got quite a few others, but I have one high school game, Miamisburg versus Fairmont. And who do we play tonight? We play Fairmont. So 61 years later, after I kept score in this book, I had to be at the game. We're not on TV. So I'm going to keep score again versus the Fairmont team. In our league, I'll finish up with this. Fairmont's ranked number 4 in the state, but they're not the best in our league. Centerville is number 1 in the state. We had to play them last week. We got to play these teams twice a year. Anyway, we're going to give it a good old try. We're going to do the best we can. We play hard, so we'll do okay. So once again, thank everyone, and I appreciate the honor, and go Bikes.
I guess I must have hammered that 5-minute thing home pretty good. Tonight's next inductee is Shawn Fayette. Shawn will be presented by his high school coach, Willie Weinberg. Please come up, guys. Shawn Fayette, class of 2010, wrestling.
Thank you for having us, and thanks for letting me speak. You're going to hear a lot about these 5-minute rules that Coach or Mr. Osborne keeps talking to us about. I can stand up here and read through all the accomplishments that Shawn Fayette had as a wrestler in high school, and the list is extensive. From being the first state champion in the school history, to being a 2-time state finalist, to a 3-time top 3 placer in the state, to being a multiple-time district champion, to being towards the top of almost every statistical category here at Miamisburg. But I think it's going to be a better use of my time, given the stringent 5-minute speaking limit given by Mr. Osborne, while I'm up here to talk about the way he was able to accomplish these things and the type of person he is. Quite simply, Shawn was able to do the things he was able to do because he was willing to do what others weren't willing to do. I want to share 2 quick stories that sum up Shawn, his career, and his character. The first story displays his character and perseverance. Most people think that I am most proud of Shawn's state championship during his junior year, and I am extremely proud of it. It was a great feat for him. But I think I'm most proud of the one that he didn't win. The one that showed me the type of man that he would become and continue to be. During his senior year, as a returning state champion at the state tournament, he unfortunately lost in the first round. It was a devastating moment, one that I believe few would be able to come back from. If you know anything about wrestling, or even about how brackets work, it's a long road back in order to, if you lose in the first round. And if you know anything about high school seniors, especially those who have given everything towards a goals that they are not able to reach now, then you would know that most would just throw it all away and say, call it a day, and they're done. I've seen it many, many times. So at that moment, Shawn cannot win a second state title, and he has to wrestle through a bracket against the best wrestlers in the state of Ohio to even place. It was a daunting task. After that match, Shawn went to the side of the arena and slunk to the floor, heartbroken, as we all were. My only words to him were, now we're going to see what kind of champion you are. In our program, a champion wasn't about winning, but about doing everything right. The right thing to do was to find it in himself to place as high as he could. From there, he fought, clawed, and willed himself to a 3rd place finish, even avenging the loss from earlier in the tournament. Man, I was proud of him. That act of bravery sealed it, in my mind, that he was the greatest wrestler to ever go through Miamisburg. The second story happened the week leading up to the state tournament as a senior. He and Tyler Regan, his drilling partner, who would be a state placer that year also, came in for a night drill that I put them through. They put in about 30 minutes of solid work. And at the end of that session, they just stopped. And Tyler had tears in his eyes. Shawn just laid there motionless. They had done a morning run at 6 a.m., as the team usually does. We had a 2-hour practice after school, and we had just completed a 30-minute drill at night. This was somewhat normal for our end of the year training for the state tournament. It was what I required and what I expected of our wrestlers. Now, as we talked a little longer, I learned a little bit more about their day. The night before, they had gone to an extra workout at some guy's barn in the middle of Ohio. Woke up to do the run at 6 a.m. They attended classes all day, went to a 2-hour practice. Then they decided they were going to do a quick lift before they came to the night drill. They were exhausted. They were doing what they needed to do to be champions. They were putting in the work. They were doing what others weren't willing to do. Shawn doesn't do this without a strong foundation. Shawn doesn't do anything without his family and vice versa. These ideas and characteristics came from his parents, who made Shawn's goals their goals. Their work ethic and drive became Shawn's work ethic and drive. I have met few families as close or willing to do anything for each member of the family than the Fayette family. Now, I've probably hit my 5-minute limit, and maybe not, or maybe I've gone over, but I'm going to keep going. And Mr. Osborne is going to let me, because the next part is going to make him look good. Both him and the people that make these rules for the Hall of Fame. See, most schools it's 5 years to be in the Hall of Fame. Most high school Hall of Fame vote members in just after 5 years. And so athletes right out of college just come out of college and they go right back into their high school Hall of Fame. Over the past 5 years, since, I think Shawn probably would have gotten in 5 years ago under those rules. But over the past 5 years, I've watched many wrestlers from other high schools around the area during Shawn's career go into their high school Hall of Fames. I took many calls and texts from certain concerned persons who shall remain nameless, John, of why this was happening. Why hasn't Shawn even been considered for the Hall of Fame in Miamisburg? Well, Jason Osborne and company had changed the rule to having to be out of school for 10 years. Many people who shall remain nameless, John, have questioned that decision. So I want to tell those people, and especially John Fayette. Where's John? Well, I keep looking, and there he is. I love you too, John. And especially that I am looking out at a family that has doubled in size in the last 5 years. Instead of a college graduate that just started his life, I see a man who gets to share this moment with his beautiful wife. I see a man who gets to accept this award in front of his 3 wonderful children. I see a family of 3 generations, not just 2, getting to share this moment with Shawn and each other. And to that, I want to thank Mr. Osborne for the decision to make it 10 years, because I think that even the person who did not remain nameless will admit that it was worth every bit of the wait. With that, I would like to introduce Miamisburg's first wrestling state champion, my former wrestler, who I now call my friend, Shawn Fayette.
Good evening, everybody. Well, so this is my first time being inducted into a Hall of Fame, so I wasn't aware that I was supposed to say anything, so I'll keep it short and sweet in under 5 minutes. First of all, to be even thought about as a Hall of Fame inductee is just mind-boggling, like with your mind struck, but it's amazing. But to be surrounded by, ex-teachers, coaches, parents, it really is a true honor. So I wanted to thank everybody that took time out of their busy night with everything going on between COVID, their lives, their family, whether or not they had to get babysitters and everything. I truly thank you. Many of you probably don't know my whole story. Coach shared a couple of fantastic stories with you guys of my senior year. That was very difficult. But my career did not start at Miamisburg. I haven't been in the system my whole life. I started at Centerville. But after my freshman year of high school, I did have a decision to make of a program I wanted to go to. This community is like no other, and it did not take me long to realize that. All I can say is that thank you that Miamisburg High School was the best decision, one of the best decisions of my whole life. It's situations like these that really make you appreciate the people you have surrounded yourself with. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. And that was a committee decision. 10 years. John, that was a committee decision. Our third inductee tonight is Melvin Johnson. Melvin will be presented by his friend and 2017 Hall of Fame inductee, Tim Lewis, and brother-in-law, Jeff Lakes. Melvin Johnson, come on up.
Good evening, everybody. Tim, we're not even going to mention the 5-minute rule, are we?
I didn't know anything about it.
Okay, good deal. So first, let me congratulate all of tonight's Hall of Fame inductees, their families and friends. Isn't it great to be surrounded by so many great athletes, both past and present Hall of Famers? How about a round of applause for all the athletes? So my name is Jeff Lakes. I'm an alumnus of Miamisburg High School and a former student athlete here as well. I'm currently a coach and a substitute teacher here, but most importantly, I'm Melvin's brother-in-law and friend. It truly is an honor and privilege to be addressing you tonight. Myself and Coach Tim Lewis are presenting teacher and coach Melvin Johnson into the Miamisburg Athletic Hall of Fame class of 2022. In a few minutes, Tim will talk to you about Melvin's coaching accomplishments, but I'd like to share some more personal things about Melvin's past and his impeccable character. All right? As a teacher and a coach, Melvin's provided tremendous guidance to hundreds of students and athletes here at Miamisburg. In his classroom and on the field, he has provided a safe space for all of the students as a member, or as a mentor and a role model. I guess I better drop these down, huh? There we go, that's better. He is one of the most approachable men I've ever met. Humble, soft-spoken, unassuming, resilient, and oh so calm and cool. I've never heard him raise his voice in anger, though I'm told by his wife and his children that he is capable in the most extreme circumstances. I'm not so sure I believe him. Anyway, so Melvin comes from a large family and originally is not from Miamisburg. How many of you have seen the movie Remember the Titans? Pretty good football movie, true football story that's set in the 1970s in Alexandria, Virginia, during what was a very turbulent and racially tense time period. And it tells the struggle and the triumph of integrating an all-white school with an all-black school. Well, as a matter of fact, Melvin grew up not far from there in Richmond, Virginia, during this time, and has personally experienced some of the great as well as some of the awful things depicted in that movie. I believe being from that large, close-knit family and growing up in that environment had a profound impact on him and ultimately shaped Melvin's demeanor, his philosophy, and his sound character. I think that also prepared him well for his role as a leader in Miamisburg's diversity journey over the last couple of decades. While Melvin has a remarkable career as a coach, back in high school, he was an accomplished athlete himself as a state champion in both track and field and cross country. He played some college basketball and graduated from Virginia Commonwealth University with a bachelor's degree in business. He's now married to my lovely sister, Sandra. I just added that piece on. And he has 5 grown children who are here. If you don't mind standing up. India's husband, Aaron, Chelsea, and her brand new husband, Evan, Mickey, who's not able to make it tonight, Shane, who's not able to make it tonight, and then Tyler, There you go. And he also has one grandchild, SJ. As a person, Melvin is a great planner, an excellent motivator, a super resilient individual, and a tireless worker. He's also super competitive and very goal-oriented. He has that rare and uncanny ability to get the most out of his athletes and his students without being that loud, obnoxious, and overbearing coach that most of us are. He's definitely all about the student and their individual improvement. When Melvin first moved to Miamisburg, he took a job as the district attendance officer. While working full-time, coaching, and raising a family, he earned his master's degree in education and got his first teaching job. Just one example of his planning, motivation, and goal orientation. He's got a long view of things. As you may or may not know, Melvin was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer a little over a year ago. He has continued teaching, coaching, and caring for his students and athletes the entire time since then. Such a selfless and resilient human being. And I'll tell you, I'm so proud to call Melvin my brother and my friend. I'm going to turn the program over to my former teammate, teacher, coach, friend, and Hall of Famer himself, Tim Lewis, who will tell you more about Melvin's incredible coaching career. But just a few final words from me. Congratulations, Melvin. Well done and well deserved. I love you, brother.
I met Melvin early 2000s. We coached track together when John Prater was the head coach. And then after John stepped down, Melvin became the head cross-country coach and head track coach in 2004. Spent 13 years as the head cross-country coach. In that amount of time, his teams, out of 13 years as head coach, was either first or second in GWalk South, which now I think they call the West. 9 out of those 13 years. He won 16 different invitationals. As a head track coach, which I worked with Melvin for many years, dual meets, tri-meets, quad meets, well over 70% win percentage, 20 relay or invitational championships, 11 out of 16 years his teams were either first or second in GWalk South or West, district champs or in the top 3 5 times, and in 2008, third in the state boys track and field championships. Melvin's athletes own every record on the track run in meters, except one that I could find, and that's a relay event that isn't usually run in a normal meet. But when they converted the 100-yard dash to 100 meters, you know, the 100-yard dash still stands because we don't run that anymore. But other than that, I think there was one running event that his athletes did not break. And I think there's 3 field events. But anyway, coaching with Melvin, something I absolutely loved because I didn't coach for Melvin, I coached with him. And that was his way of coaching. If there were decisions to be made, we made them as a staff. With Melvin and I, we became very close, and as Jeff said, Melvin has a very calm demeanor. Something very good for track and field when athletes are very nervous before a big race. And here's Melvin, nice and calm. I usually stayed away because I wasn't nice and calm. But Melvin was the good cop and I was the bad cop, which I was the yeller. Melvin had his style. Worked very well for him when Shane and Tyler ran because he would say to me, work them hard today. And that way he wasn't the bad guy when he got home, and I'm sure my ears were burning for sure. But Melvin is very well respected among track coaches and track officials, very well respected by his athletes. Melvin takes care of everyone. It doesn't matter if your times are not good enough to get on the track, we're going to create track meets to get you on the track. That was Melvin's theory. I mean, if you're at, or his system, if you come out, you're going to run or you're going to compete. He always created a family atmosphere with teams. You know, you'd hear very successful teams saying, we weren't really a team, we were a family. Melvin was able to create that family every year. Very, very difficult to do. The athletes knew that he was there. He wanted them to succeed, and he treated them all like his own. You know, and that was one thing that very important to me was, would I want this person coaching my children? I had a daughter that ran cross country and track. None of my boys did. I got some grandkids coming, Melvin, so. But one example, I know Lozzie, but one example, anybody in here that ran for Melvin, every track meet, I can't vouch for cross country, but every track meet, tubs and coolers were loaded up on the buses, full of food, full of drinks. Our athletes didn't have to worry about going to the concession stand, bringing their own food. Melvin fed them every meet. And I'd say some of our kids probably ate better at track meets than at home, but he took care of everyone. I do have to say this, Melvin, I'm sorry, but speaking of eating, before I coached track with Melvin, it seemed like every year I coached track, I lost weight. Just constantly moving, busy. I coached with Melvin, a couple of years in, I'm realizing I gained weight in the spring. Melvin would always bring a box with Fig Newtons, cookies, Twizzlers, peanuts in the shell, and that was for the coaches. I had no clue that each Fig Newton was 115 calories. I'd eat a sleeve of Fig Newtons at every 15 cookies at every track meet. That and eventually we were able to kind of move on to something else, but you have 2 or 3 meets in a week, and that's a lot of calories. But last thing I want to say is, anyone that knows Melvin knows what a good guy he is. Definitely one of the best people I've ever known. To be able to coach as long as we have, there's a good or even better person at home putting up with us. And I was told many times that I outkicked my coverage when I married my wife, Becky. I 100% agree. Melvin, you're in the same boat, buddy. Thank you, Sandy, for sharing Melvin with us. He has touched the lives of so many student athletes and people in Miamisburg. We're very grateful for that.
I think I'm going to put these on. I'm not going to be like Jeff back there. Actually, before I talked to Ron about 3 weeks ago, and this was at one of his basketball games. He was doing scoring, and Ron was like frantic. He was like, "Man, Jason said 5 minutes." He said, "I started mine about 3 months ago, and I've got about 45 minutes." And I just said, "Ron, you can have some of my time." I'm okay with that. First of all, I just want to say good evening to everyone. And I am honored and blessed to be here tonight. Truly honored and blessed. Thank the Hall of Fame committee. I'm full of thank yous tonight. I'm full of thank yous. And I really wanted to give a shout out to my mom and dad. They're not here. I would like to thank my parents for giving me such a strong base. I also want to give a shout out to my brother. He a lot of my family came from Richmond, Virginia. And then I have my extended family here, so I have a whole bunch of them. But my brother, Jeff had mentioned that I'm a competitive individual. I am. A lot of people don't see that side of me until you really get to know me. My wife can tell you that. But I got my competitiveness from my brother. I remember this. I was probably about 10 or 11 years old, and we decided we wanted to have a race. And my brother was a little bigger and stronger than me, and we got into this race. And then before we crossed the finish line, I gave up. I stopped. And my brother came back to me and said, "Hey, listen, why did you do that?" I was like, "Do what?" He said, "Why did you stop?" And I said, "Because you're going to win." And he said, piece of advice, you should never stop until you get to the finish line. You'll never know what can happen in between that time period. So I took that to heart, and he really, kind of gave me that competitive edge that I've had in sports for many years. But let's get on to the thank yous. I promised my wife I wouldn't do any stories, but I had to share that one. I would like to thank my wife and my children and my extended family. They're for supporting me throughout my entire coaching career. And they are such a big part of the reason I'm being inducted tonight. And thank you, Tim. My coach's wife is so incredible. They put up with a lot of things, coming home late, not being at home, just long hours. So thank you to my wife. I do want to thank my mentors. I've had 3 mentors in my life, Sherman Stone, Bruce Bowen, and John Fraley. You guys probably know John Fraley. But thanking them for all the advice they've given me, for inspiring me, and teaching me how to coach, not only the athletic side with the kids, but the coaching is not always being competitive and winning, but more importantly, about helping athletes become incredible adults. Tim Lewis, I want to thank him for being a really good peer mentor that I could ever have. The good thing about Tim is he always brought fun, passion, and a dose of reality to every season that we coached together. Jeff Lake's my brother-in-law, for taking the time to gather all the information he needed to nominate me for his passionate and persistence in making this happen. Also wanted to thank Jim Smurs for taking a chance on a non-Miamisburg guy. I know we're big on having Miamisburg individuals come back and do things, but thank you. Also wanted to thank Jason Osborne. Jason supports me tremendously, and he gives me the tools to be a successful coach, and also Jason Shade back there too. And a very big thanks to my assistant coaches. I see one of them here is tonight, Jeremy, but I've had, it's my honor and pleasure to work with my assistant coaches. Tim's been one of them. I have learned as much as I have taught. So I just wanted to thank them for being around and putting up with me. Big thanks to all the student athletes that I had the privilege to coach, from state champions to the ones that always get the job done, to the kids that wanted to learn and be a part of something bigger than themselves. For me, it's not just about the 4 years that I spend with them on the track, but the adults that come back home to Miamisburg, that stop in and visit, send me wedding invitations, birth announcements, or they stop me in the grocery store just so we can catch up. Also wanted to thank the community. A lot of you guys are out there for always supporting the track and cross-country programs, especially during the fundraising time. You guys have been fabulous. And lastly, what I'm going to say is, my hope is when I'm done coaching here at Miamisburg, that I leave the program at least a little bit better than I found it. Thank you all. It's been an honor to coach in this school district. And I guess I'm not done yet, but thank you very much.
Great job, guys. Our final individual inductee tonight is Kermit Bud Simmons. Bud will be presented posthumously by his son, Tim Simmons. Come on up, Tim. Bud Simmons, class of 1953, football, basketball, and track.
First of all, I want to thank the committee for selecting my dad, Kermit Bud Simmons, to receive the honor of induction into the Athletic Hall of Fame. I'm his son, Tim Simmons, and on behalf of my sisters and I, we're proud and honored to accept this on his behalf. We also want to thank Mark Becker, who has compiled the school's athletic records and made this readily available for all of us. Growing up, we always knew our dad was an athlete. But without Mark's efforts, we wouldn't have known that our dad still holds 6 individual school records in basketball, as well as 34 team records in football and basketball that have lasted for over 70 years. I want to read you a little article from the Dayton Daily News that was dated January 24th, 1954, that will give you a little perspective on the type of athlete our dad was. Suppose you're 17 years old, 6'4", 230 pounds, and are being touted as probably developing into one of your school's greatest athletes. Then suppose the next day you're flat on your back, your muscles are paralyzed, and you may never walk again. Your athletic hopes are shattered. Before being stricken with polio, Bud had already earned 9 varsity letters at Miamisburg High School. He was an end on the football team for 3 years, center on the basketball team, and in track, well, he was kind of a workhorse. He ran the 880 and mile relay teams and the shot put, along with the high and low hurdles. Although he had just completed his junior year at Miamisburg, Bud was being watched as a Major League Baseball prospect. Bud had already picked the University of Dayton College before he was stricken with polio. Our dad contracted polio in 1952. That was 2 years before the vaccine was developed. Dad spent the next 6 months in the hospital and then months of outpatient rehab. Despite all the therapy, polio had devastated his muscles, and he was paralyzed from the waist down, never to walk again. I want to thank to several of his teachers, including Helen DiMatteo and Dr. Fred Rain, who came to the hospital and later his home to tutor him, and his determination and strong work ethic. He was able to graduate on time with his class of 1953. Dad never let polio and its effects take his quest for life away. He went on to UD and graduated. In 1959, he was elected Miamisburg City Auditor and later became the city's full-time finance director. He proudly served the city he loved from 1960 until 1987. That's the year that the polio virus reactivated in our dad's body, causing post-polio, and we lost our dad in 1990 at the young age of 55. My sisters and I miss our dad very much, and we're very proud of his accomplishments, and we want to thank the committee and everybody for this recognition.
For our final induction of the evening, I'd like to bring up the 1969 baseball team. The team will be presented by a member of the team and 1993 Hall of Fame inductee, Gary Rowe. The 1969 baseball team, come on up.
First of all, I want to thank Jason Osborne and Jason Shea. They do a tremendous job on all this, organizing it and keeping it moving as much as possible. But when you have things like this, you got to have time for the individuals to give their credentials, which makes it be the reason why they are in the Hall of Fame. Tonight, I'll talk a little bit about our team. Back in the 60s, if people can remember that far back, we didn't have a whole lot of the members show up. We had 8 seniors on this team, 8 juniors, and 1 sophomore. But the individuals that showed up for this evening is John Holt, Doug Montgomery, Steve Skank, and John Folan. they braved the weather. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Steve Weiss. He's the one that nominated us for this honor. Good friend of mine. And also the committee for allowing us to be in and come in. In my opinion, this is one of the best teams ever to be in Miamisburg uniforms. And if you notice, I said one of the best. For those of you who don't know me, I taught here for 30 plus years and coached football, baseball, and golf. So I've been through quite a few teams and seen their calibers. And trust me, we've had a lot of good teams along the way. So that's why I say we are one of the best teams that has ever been assembled at our school. We had the major qualities that you need for a baseball team. We had good pitching, good hitting, and plenty of speed. We had 3 main starters, but then we had infielders who were just as good. That's why teams didn't like to play us. We were coached by Mike Sorrell, which some of you might remember. He's in some of the record books. He coached baseball and basketball both, and he was a great individual. He passed a few years back, but he was a mentor to all of us, and a good man, and showed us how to do things the right way, which is what actually happened. Our record overall was 23-10, and that doesn't sound really awesome compared to some of the other teams we've had, but it was because we got a run in the tournament. We started out back in the 60s, we only had districts, we did not have sectionals. We started out, played 5 games in the districts, and in those 5 games, we only gave up 5 runs total. But in the meantime, we had scored 26, so that was what you might want to call domination. So we only allowed 1 earned run per game. When we got to the regionals, we were very fortunate, which as far as I can remember now, there's no team that gets to do this. We played at the old Crosley Field, which was the home of the Cincinnati Reds back in '69. And not only 1 game, but we got to play 2 games in the same day. They don't play doubleheaders anymore in the state tournament, but we got to play 2 games that day. In the first game, we won, beating Stebbins High School 7-2. In the second game, we had a barn burner between our 2 pitchers. In the second game, in the final game, John Hope was our pitcher. He threw a 3-hitter against Mount Healthy, while the Mount Healthy pitcher kept us to 1 hit. So there's only 4 hits in that total game for the 7 innings. And I was fortunate enough to get a triple over the right center field wall to score our shortstop David Brooks for the only run to win the regionals 1-0. At that game, we had 1,100 people from Miamisburg in attendance, and it was quite impressive when you go out on the field and you see that many people from your hometown. It was an incredible experience for all of us young punks back then, and we're not now, but incredible experience playing on a professional stadium. So in the districts and regionals, we gave up a total of 7 runs, which again averages 1 run a game, but scored 34. So that was pretty much our dominance. And then on to the state in the semifinals. We went into extra innings. We went into 8 innings, lost 5-4 to East Liverpool. We had an unfortunate error on a sacrifice bunt by East Liverpool, and it was thrown off over our first baseman's head, which allowed them to tie the score because we were ahead most of the game. But that's the nature of baseball. If you have an error, it probably will come back to haunt you. And it did in that case. So we were eliminated then in the state semifinals. But here's the aspect of our team I think that will give you some insight on how good and how many good players we had. We had 4 individuals already in the Hall of Fame. One was Alan Mills, Mike Oakes, Gary Turner, and myself. And I was selected to play in the North-South All-Ohio game in Columbus that year. Alan Mills signed a professional contract with the San Francisco Giants after his career at Miami of Ohio. He progressed to the AAA level, which is very difficult to do. I've known people in the past who I was good friends with, signed with major league teams, and believe me, to get to the AAA level is not easy. So he made it to the AAA level, but was sidelined after getting a wrist injury that pretty much ended his career. I imagine he got hit by a pitch because he was a very good hitter. I was scouted by Chicago and Philadelphia during my senior year at Miamisburg. So we had two guys that were looking at the next level. And then the college players, we had several of those. Of course, Alan Mills and John Holt both played at Miami of Ohio. Mike Oakes, being the athlete that he was, played basketball at Ball State. And a lot of us were multi-sport athletes. So he got a scholarship to play at Ball State. Gary Turner played baseball at Bowling Green, and John and I played baseball at EKU in Richmond, Kentucky. So that's basically it, and that's why our team had that much success. And like I said, I consider our team here to be one of the best, not the best, but one of the best teams that has ever passed through the halls of Miamisburg High School. Thank you.
If I could have the three individuals and then Tim come back up, please. Ron.
Where were you?
Tonight, we also have a special presentation of commendations from Ohio State representative and Miamisburg alumnus, Tom Young. Where you at, Tom? There he is.
I've always been very proud to have graduated from Miamisburg High School and to come and hear these stories in the world we live in and the challenges that we have today and what we've seen in the last couple of years. Events like this set a standard. It sets a bar. And it sets a bar for our children, and it keeps telling the story of how important athletics are, and how important role models are, and how important heroes are. And so congratulations to all of you this evening, and we have commendations for the Hall of Fame members tonight, and they're well deserved.
Thank you, Tom. And just to reiterate, what makes this night so special, obviously the athletes, the contributors, the people that are inducted, but also the people in the crowd. So coaches, family members, just community members. We, from the bottom of our heart, we really thank you for being here. It does make the whole night much more impactful that we can share it with others. So we love our community, we love our athletics here at Miamisburg, and we love sharing them with our people, and we're certainly from the bottom of my heart proud to be here with you guys, and we love you guys, and we thank you for all of your support. With that said, you guys can go ahead and, so did we get photos? Everybody good on photos? Thank you guys. Just to wrap. All right. Just to wrap up the evening, a couple points here. If you guys have been watching the PowerPoint, we've been working on that for quite a while. This is not a Hall of Fame thing, though many of the pictures that you see are of Hall of Famers. But it's all D1 athletes or professional athletes that have graduated from Miamisburg High School or coaches. If we're missing someone, we're always looking to add to it. The PowerPoint's grown over the years. We are working on Brenda Hibbard, who's kind of my boss, I guess. What's that? Brenda is we're working on the same sort of thing for our Hall of Fame also. And one day we'll get that done and we'll be able to share that with you. But thank you, Brenda, because she's a good employee, man. She's great. Let's give her up for Brenda. So the game starts at 7:30, and just so you know the way this is going to go, you guys can hang out here, fellowship for a while. By 7:30, if you could be in the gym, we do have plenty of seats, reserved for you guys. This is a little different. If you've been here in the past, it's going to be diagonal from where you've always sat. That way you don't have to go all the way down the hall and merge. We can just kind of slide in the band hallway, for those of you who know where that is, and we'll sneak in the side there. So it's going to be diagonal from our bench. Also, announcement, we wanted to let you guys know, there are Campus Quest flyers. Obviously, we've been raising money for our facilities, and we've done an excellent job with that, and our community has really backed us on that. If you're interested and you haven't done anything with that, and you're looking to do that, there's a flyer on your table, and we would greatly appreciate anything you can do for us. The halftime. So when you came in, Brenda and Reva were highlighting you guys if you're a Hall of Fame member, because at halftime, if you remember how we've done it in the past, we kind of arc the members that are here behind the inductees. The inductees will be at center court, and the members will be kind of arced around them, so to speak. And if you got your name highlighted when you came in, that's for our announcer. So Danny Prophet will read that for us, if you guys know Danny, which we appreciate all his hard work. So in closing, I just want to thank you guys for being here. Thank you. It's so great to see everyone's face again, and to be able to share this time with you guys and hang out with the Miamisburg greats. Thank you so much, guys. Enjoy your evening. If we could get the inductees, we'd like to get one photograph of the inductees. If you could do this real quick for us. Melvin, Ron, Tim.